Foundational learning is essential. Currently, 70% of children in low and middle income countries struggle with basic reading by the age of 10. This is a pressing challenge for us also in Ghana. Therefore, we have prioritized foundational learning in our educational transformation agenda through curriculum reforms, teacher training, and digital learning. It is vital to center teaching in our tracking efforts as the significantly influential learning outcome. They cannot be teaching, they cannot be education without the teacher. The ministry, therefore, encourages investments in teacher education and professional development through initiatives like the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes Project, GALLOP, and the National Teacher Professional Development Framework. We are also exploring how innovation and artificial intelligence can enhance teaching and learning outcomes, ensuring technology serves our context and meets the needs of children in diverse environments. I express deep appreciation to UNICEF, the Hampel Foundation, and all partners supporting the FLAT and Ghana's education reforms. FLAT is more than a monitoring tool. It is a platform for shared accountability and collective learning. It will help us track progress and identify areas needing improvement. Let us commit to using data to drive meaningful reforms, invest in teachers, and create classrooms where every child can thrive and blossom. Together, we can move from measurement to action, ensuring every child learns and no child left behind. On behalf of the government of Ghana, under the able leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the people of Ghana, I reaffirm our dedication to strengthening foundational learning for all children. Once again, thank you and welcome. Akwaba, Obake, Sendezua, Wezo, Mitia. How many more Ghanaian languages did I miss? I've done a few.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, yes, please go ahead. Thank you. Honorable Dr. Clement Apak is the Deputy Minister of Education of Ghana, representing the Minister of Education, the Honorable Lawyer Haruna Idrisu, and is also the Member of Parliament for the Bilsa South constituency of the Upper East region. Shall we do a big round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen? We'll go along, and later on this morning, we will also be doing key acknowledgements of you, our friends who have crossed the miles from various jurisdictions on the African continent and other parts of the world to be here with us as we mark this very important milestone in this key partnership in the Foundational Learning Action Tracker as a collaboration between the Ministry of Education, UNICEF, and the Hempel Foundation. At this time, for our presentation on the 2025 findings, it's my pleasure to bring here to the stage the Global Director of Education and Adolescent Development of UNICEF, our key partner, Dr. Pia Rebello Brito. Please welcome her with a big round of applause. And also please do remember that this is streaming live on the MOE channel, which is also on social media. And so all of our friends who are not able to be here with us physically can join us virtually. Doc?
Excellencies, Honorable Deputy Minister of Education of Ghana, visiting ministers, flat steering committee members, distinguished guests, colleagues, teachers, friends in the room and online, our hosts, the College of Education, our partner, Hempel Foundation, all protocols duly observed, a very, very good morning. It's really such a pleasure to be here with all of you for the launch of the 2025 Foundational Learning Action Tracker. And honestly, what an inspiring start we had today. To go to the school this morning, those of us who went there, and to see learning in action. And it is such hard work. The teachers are putting in, the students are putting in. This is really what we have to show the world. Learning is hard work. But when it comes together, the result is amazing. And we saw that. Congratulations. So I really want to express my heartfelt thanks to the Ministry of Education of the Republic of Ghana for co-hosting this event and the exemplary leadership and warm hospitality. We were welcomed in many languages. Thank you. And also the ministers of education who are here today. It is your leadership. It is your political commitment that is driving change that could go unnoticed in a classroom. It's you who are putting the spotlight on it through your leadership, through your ministry to make it happen. And I really want to express my gratitude to the members of the FLAT Steering Committee. You are charting the direction for us to take forward. You understand and elevate partnership and shared purpose that is making it impactful. So the one thing we all know that's universal is foundational learning, that core ability to read and write. Basic literacy, numeracy, social emotional skills is the bedrock of life. It's what we are preparing for a future that you've talked about, a digital future, a future powered by artificial intelligence. It is these early skills, when children stay in school, stay longer, have opportunities to explore. But often, we're not seeing that, no? We're seeing the opposite. We're seeing learning gaps are widening. In fact, we're seeing entire generations being held back. And this data is not. This data is a bit disheartening. No? It's too many children are being left behind. Still, 70% of children in low and middle income countries cannot read that basic, simple text. But we've turned the page. We've turned the page because we know through all your work what works. Strong political leadership, well-supported teachers, and focused delivery in the classroom. And this is why this Foundational Learning Action Tracker is designed, to help us turn that global national commitment into measurable action and shine a light on progress. And here is where we need collaboration. So today we are at a day of opportunity. We recognize the challenge. We've talked about the learning crisis. We have the tools for action. We have them now. And we're sitting in a country that's walking the talk with its leadership. So I ask you all today that we see this launch as a moment of opportunity. We see this launch in how do we make this happen together. And especially our hosts, our ministers, our leaders who are here today, how do we do this with more urgency? Because time is not on our side. And how do we do this at the scale of the continent of Africa, but global? And how do we do this so there is a shared accountability amongst all of us? We all have a role to play. So I have 3 asks today as we take this forward. So I'm pleased to share with you the FLAT findings from 2025, and they're going to tell us where we are making progress and where we need to go further. But I'm really happy that today we're shining a spotlight on teachers. And how amazing to be at a College of Education, one of 49 in this country. Bravo, what a network. We are here at that situation because teachers are the beating heart of education. And I'm going to make a little joke because what we saw this morning were the employed teachers and some guest teachers who showed us the power of teaching. All right, so we go to the next slide. So why the FLAT? Okay. Now, one thing is obvious, we are living in a world of massive resource constraints. So the finance element is really critical, which means we have to look at smart buys. What is it that gets us the most for our money? What is most cost effective to improve learning, such as targeted instruction? The second thing we know from our smart buys is that interventions in the classroom should not be fragmented. We've learned, for example, from Côte d'Ivoire, the impacts of teaching at the right level varied by the factors with effects in larger schools, better infrastructure. We see that we can have holistic support that prevents teacher burnout when we bring this together. And this is why the RAPID framework, which underlies the FLAT, is that comprehensive way to bring together the smart buys. We all look for smart buys when we go shopping because we know smart buys give us the return on investment. And here's a smart buy for children and teachers. So, as we look forward to the RAPID framework, that's the next slide, we see that this framework has been launched by the Global Coalition for Foundational Learning. This one presents the pathways to ensure all children acquire foundational learning skills. Now, what is in the RAPID framework is just, it's a basic essence of knowing that you reach every child, we know this, keep them in school, assess learning regularly, prioritize teaching fundamentals, increase the efficiency of instruction, and develop psychosocial health. And anyone, all of us in education know these are the basics. What the FLAT does is it takes these basics and converts them into a tool that enables us very concretely to see, are we on the right road? So in the next slide, what we're going to see is, based on the RAPID framework, how FLAT monitors the government's efforts on foundational learning. And look at this, in 2025, the FLAT covered 124 low and middle income countries around the world. This is one of the most massive at-scale endeavors to track this work, both on policy action through the annual survey and through the country offices reporting through consultations with their Ministry of Education. I'm sure the slide will come up soon. You'll see a map of the world soon when the slide comes up. What we see here in the FLAT is the global report, but also country scorecards. So this is very important because the country scorecards are the more granular level data that have been endorsed in this commitment of action, but it's part of a global data collection. So you see the situation and where it lands. There you go. You see how expansive this is, and this is a movement that can go forward. So the next slide will tell you exactly, slide 5, will tell you exactly in each RAPID dimension where we see progress over the last 2 years, which is the other beauty of it. Now we can study trends, okay? So you have each of the 5 RAPID areas, and I'll very quickly give you some top-line results so you can follow along, because sometimes slides can be a bit crowded. Okay, to reach every child, countries have made strong efforts to track student attendance and dropout. This is very good. We want to keep children in school and learning. To assess learning, we are seeing an increase in use of assessment data to inform foundational learning interventions. 58% are doing this nationwide. This is good progress. We also see progress in prioritizing the fundamentals, with more countries integrating social emotional learning. We know how critical social emotional learning is. It's really that holistic way of having the core foundation in place. We see an increase in efficiency of instruction by share of countries who are reporting nationwide structured pedagogy. Imagine it's doubled in 2 years. This is change we must and have to celebrate through the political commitment you have brought, through the tools you're implementing. And finally, to develop psychosocial health and well-being, 42 countries are reporting nationwide school mental health and psychosocial well-being. This is a massive increase. In 2023, it was only 23 countries. We have to take stock. This is hard work. This is hard work that is making a change. So as we continue on this road of progress, the next slide will tell us where are the gaps and what do we need to strengthen more, because we have to do it at scale and with urgency. Now, this is something we want to pay attention to, because here is where we need to focus our efforts. Since 2024, we have seen fewer than half the countries implement cash transfers or other types of supports for disadvantaged students. So how are we addressing the poverty factor that is keeping children out of school? Next, we are seeing fewer than half report using assessment data to inform classroom practices. And we know if we want to support effective teaching, this is a critical component, right? It helps us improve quality. Another, only 1/10 of the countries integrate transferable skills in formal and non-formal education systems with a sufficient budget and human resources. This is telling us about one of the challenges. Now, despite being highly cost-effective, the intervention for teaching and learning, only 1/3 are reporting targeted instruction. We're falling behind in something we know is a critical ingredient of making learning happen. And finally, only in 2024, only a quarter of countries reported nationwide recruitment of specific personnel to support students' mental health and well-being. And so a lot of this is falling on the teachers, and they are likely to be heavily burdened. So you understand why we're putting a focus on teachers this year. A lot of the gaps we are seeing are in the areas of human resources. So we need to build on that with a very intentional focus to get the next level of results. So the next slide is what we call the rapid fire, because everyone wants everything quickly. We don't have time to go through tables of indicators. Everyone says, just give me the top 5 or the top 3, right? So these are the top 5, so you can take them home. The top 5 are the essential levers. In all the indicators, we are seeing improvement since 2024. And honestly, this is a massive, massive result to see improvement, steady, sustained improvement. And this is where we are seeing it for helping teachers, but we also know we have a long journey to go. So that's the opportunity we want to pick up today. Now, what is important that I just want to point out from the rapid fire is a few things. One is on the textbooks. The ratio of textbooks to children is not yet fully there. It's only about half the countries. And this learning assessment for early grades, I think we need to pick this up more, because when the classroom assessment meets the system and we bring that together is when we can have efficiency gains in the way our system delivers learning. And fewer than a third are reporting targeted instruction, and we know this is a studied tool, it can make a difference. So the rapid 5 are giving us some very key levers we can pull, and we can think, what will it take to make that happen? Now, next slide. And now I'm going to go faster because I wanted to just spend some time on the data so we can really think and digest it, because it's really rich data. And for those online, I hope you're able to follow along, because this is the data where we want to now have a reflection on the opportunity. Now, what we're seeing across the 124 countries is the progress is kind of at the established level, and a third level in the FLATS 4-point rating scale. So it's moving along. Only 1 in 10 countries show substantial increases in flat ratings since 2024. Countries are sustaining strong efforts to reach every child, but now is where the urgency for greater action is needed. We're kind of at that point in the curve where we don't want it to, sorry to use the word again, we don't want it to get flat. We kind of want it to rise. So we are at that point now, which is why today's launch is so critical. It's the point of inflection for greater acceleration. So I think I just want to share one more new data piece that's come in, and I don't know if the graphs are up, but they come to us from our multiple indicator cluster survey. Why I want to show this is because what we are seeing is wide variation across countries. The multiple indicator cluster survey is a household survey that UNICEF runs around the world, and it enables us actually to get very specific data on foundational reading and numeracy skills by grade. The green lines here represent results from Africa. What we need to think of also is beyond our national boundaries. We need to think, what does this mean for the continent when we see such large cross-country differences? They are highlighted not just in the magnitude of the learning gaps, but also in the opportunity for mutual learning and exchange among governments. This is why I wanted to bring this up, because we're very fortunate to have so many ministers here with us today. And this is the type of data that gives us that moment for exchange, sort of where are we doing well, where can we help each other, so the continent moves forward in this very important decade of acceleration in which the African Union is taking us forward to make this change happen, to end learning poverty. So I want to close by saying thank you. I want to thank you because today's event is marking a very critical inflection point and opportunity. We're delighted to be in a country that is taking the leadership forward, and I really hope the findings we're going to discuss today are going to lead to an exchange that when we gather next year, we're going to see even far greater progress. Thank you so very much. It's such an honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Dr. Pia Robello Brito is the Global Director of Education and Adolescent Development of UNICEF. We're very grateful to you. Shall we appreciate her with another round of applause? Big initiatives such as these need major drivers who also are within the space of social development and social interventions. Over the years, the Hempel Foundation has been at the helm of this and come across as a very strategic partner in the realization of the goals of the Foundational Learning Action Tracker. It's my pleasure now to bring here to the stage the CEO of the Hempel Foundation. Shall we do a big round of applause as we welcome Mr. Anders Holm here onto the stage. And once again, I would like to say big greetings to all of our friends from all over the world who are joining us virtually via the live stream on the Ministry of Education Ghana channel.
Thank you for this brilliant presentation, Pia. Honorable Deputy Minister, thanks for hosting this global launch event together with us and UNICEF here in Accra today. This morning, I was one who had the pleasure of visiting one of your primary schools, engaging with students as well as teachers. It was fun, children were learning, and even I was learning. And spending time in classrooms is an important reminder to all of us why we are here today. To make sure that every child, everywhere, learns to read, write, and do basic math. The very foundation for all human and economic development. Let me also thank Honorable Minister Saki and Dr. Obi for being members of the steering committee for the Foundation Learning Action Tracker. Thanks for being here today with us. And of course, a special thanks to UNICEF for the strong partnership and collaboration that has made this initiative possible. It has now, as Pia was mentioned, been 3 years since we initiated the partnership on the Foundation Learning Action Tracker. When the partnership was initiated, our goal was simple, yet ambitious. To develop a global tool that could strengthen government's commitment to foundational learning and serve as a solid basis for informed policy, dialogue, and prioritized action. We strongly believe that data-driven collaboration is needed to move the needle on foundational learning. Now, with 3 years of data, FLAT shows us where countries are making progress, where momentum is slowing, and where urgent action is still needed. Now, traditional aid budgets are declining, and many governments face tight domestic budgets. It has therefore never been more important than now for governments and partners to prioritize and invest in solutions that are cost-effective, based on data and evidence. And it is our hope that FLAT can help guide exactly that. We know that transforming education systems takes time, which is also clear from the new FLAT report. He has run through the global results. And as she highlighted, progress is there. There is time also for celebrating. I'm encouraged to see signs of real improvement in areas critical to achieving better learning outcomes for children. For example, the share of countries reporting the use of assessment data to inform intervention program has grown from 46% in 2024 to now 58% in 2025. And the steady increase in evidence-based interventions that are now implemented nationwide in almost half of countries, from just 24% in 2023. These two examples are very encouraging. And it shows growing recognition of the need to invest and support teachers. This year's theme of the new FLAT report. Now, countries are moving from not just commitment, but to real action that changes practice where it's needed in the classrooms, which our host country, Ghana, is also a good example of. However, the magnitude of the learning crisis is so alarming that we can all agree on the urgent need to strengthen collaboration even further to accelerate progress on foundational learning. From our side, I want to reaffirm that the Hempel Foundation remains deeply committed to working with governments and partners to prioritize foundational learning, even within this tight fiscal space. Now, we know reforms are difficult to implement, and there's a lot of time from policy action to changes in the classroom. And that's why I also believe that it is a key that we, as an education philanthropy, also support government's technical capacity to deliver on their foundational learning commitments based on data and evidence. And we'll be looking more into that. So again, thank you all for being here today, and I look very much forward to the discussions.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we get ourselves ready for the moderated session, I'd like to acknowledge the following here. The Minister for Basic and Secondary Education of Sierra Leone, the Honorable Conrad Saki. Shall we do a big round of applause? The Honorable Obiagele Ezekwesili is the founder of Human Capital Africa and also a former Minister of Education of the Republic of Nigeria and a former Vice President of the World Bank. Please do a big round of applause for her. Once again, we're very grateful to Mr. Anders Holm, the CEO of the Hempel Foundation, who is a key partner in the execution of this big project. Shall we do a big round of applause for him? Mr. Shembodo is a senior program officer and a representative executive of ADEA. Shall we do a big round of applause? Of course, we would like to also say a very big thank you to Professor George Odu, who is the technical advisor to the Ministry of Education. Prof, we're very grateful to you. Professor Smile GC is the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service. Please do a big round of applause. Also, Mr. Christine McConnell of UNICEF and all colleagues who are here with us from Team UNICEF. Shall we do a big round of applause? Thank you so much, Kristen. We are grateful for the collaboration and the massive support. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll do a short round of music and we'll continue with some more acknowledgements as we get ourselves ready for the moderator session in looking at specifics of the Foundational Learning Action Tracker. We're grateful to you. Music, please. Honorable Deputy Minister of Education of Ghana, visiting ministers, excellencies here gathered, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to bring you some warm greetings, especially from the Secretary of Education of the Philippines, who is unable to be here with us and has been taken away by other pressing national matters in the Philippines. And so Honorable Sonny Angara will be monitoring all of this from a distance, and he sends his warm regards. And at this time, I would like to welcome once again here to the stage for this very important moderated session, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Education of Ghana, Honorable Dr. Clement Apak. Shall we welcome him once again with a big round of applause? He will be joined here by the Honorable Conrad Saki, who is the Minister for Basic and Senior Education of Sierra Leone. And then I'd like to, with great respect, welcome Honorable Clifford Kona Jr., the Assistant Minister of Education of Liberia. Shall we welcome him with a big round of applause? All right. We're grateful to all of you. Honorable Ministers, we're very grateful to you for your time here this morning. And I believe that this is coming at a very important time for the African continent, especially at a time when Africa is trying to refocus its direction, especially for the young people of this current generation, because we're looking at Africa take its due place within the bigger global picture in various aspects of global development, and it has to start from the foundation. Let's begin with you, Honorable Minister, since you are the host minister, representing the Honorable Minister. The conversation about measurement of impact of how we're tracking the learning, of these children under the age of 10. First of all, tell me about the levels of excitement about this idea and the kind of perceived impact, and also how much attention you want to focus, especially because of the disturbing statistics about the children within rural areas who live under the poverty line and also are unable to access basic education, which is supposed to put them at a certain level in terms of their intellect by age 10.
Thank you, Nathaniel. And once again, let me say good morning to all of us. As you know, Ghana is no exception. What you narrated is a continental, even to some extent, a global challenge. But let's confine ourselves to our republic. We all know, those of us gathered here, educationists, we know that when we get the foundation right, the rest of the building blocks are easy to place. And that is why various Ghanaian governments, and particularly this government, is putting a lot of emphasis on foundational learning. Remember, before I started my formal comments on behalf of the minister, I had to clarify the policy directive which the minister made right here in this hall
about language
only on Friday, about the use of the mother tongue as a medium of instruction in our basic school system. But the emphasis is at the foundational level, from kindergarten to primary 3. And there is good reason for that. Research has shown, and we know this to be true, that learners are better able to grasp concepts, principles, and understand better at these early ages when they are taught in the mother tongue. Now, I speak about this within the broader context of the reforms that we have initiated. We've already announced reforms for the basic levels of our educational structure, from KG to primary 6, as part of the effort to provide more opportunities for learners to be able to thrive, and so that we can improve outcomes. Now, what is that we are trying to do? We have to complement that, because we are not just talking about reforming the curriculum, but we are also looking at investing in teacher training and teacher motivation. Professor Atintonu would agree that Prinkoff has been working with the ministry, with the minister's blessing, for us to also augment, or if you like, increase the numbers of teachers in the area of early childhood education. Because it is one thing to build the school blocks, which we need, particularly in the rural areas. But building the structures without the teachers and the requisite teaching and learning material clearly would not augur well for what we are trying to achieve. But even within that context, we must always have various models of assessments.
Great.
And as you know, in Ghana for the past few years, we have been assessing our learners through the national standardized test, largely testing their competencies in numeracy and literacy. So I believe we've been doing primary 2, primary 4, primary 6, and we will be graduating it to junior high school too, but with emphasis at the base. So we are putting in a lot of effort because we must get to a point where every child, regardless of which part of the country he or she is born, has an equal opportunity to be able to learn, thrive, and blossom, so that we can create the types of society that we believe would augur well for our collective development. So in terms of assessment, we already have a system in place. And whilst the data still leaves a lot more room to be filled, I believe we are making some progress. But it's going to have to be a holistic approach. We need the teachers, we need the physical structures, we need the teaching and learning material, and as we have now announced, the teachers will be allowed to use the mother tongue as a medium of instruction in the lower primary as well as KG.
Well, we're very grateful to you, Honorable Clementa Park. Please do a round of applause. You made mention of, focusing more energy and more resources in training foundational learning teachers. And that, from my end as a journalist, excites me greatly, because then we know that action is being taken immediately. Is there an idea of the numbers we probably will be looking at in terms of how many, so that it can cover the population to a very large extent? Because that one is also very key, so that we can have a good spread of these foundational learning teachers in different parts of the country?
Well, whilst I don't know of specifics in terms of numbers, it is my personal conviction that at least if we could intentionally influence a ratio of 60-40 in favor of foundational learning as far as the training of teachers are concerned, it will do us a wealth of good. Because Nathaniel, think about it. We are talking about the very beginning. But we had the opportunity to go and visit a school, the SDA primary.
Here in Medina.
Yes, here in Medina. And we saw early learners in action. Kindergarten, primary 1, 2, and 3. What we saw and the level of effort that the various teachers had to put in, the level of effort that the learners had to put in, I would argue, is a lot more demanding compared to even upper primary and secondary school. I am the son of a retired teacher, Madame Agnes. Hopefully she is watching. A disciplinarian, I must add. And so I know this from my own upbringing. The value of foundational learning. Because she was a teacher herself, I had the advantage of having the needed play learning related toys and even books at an early age. And I believe all of that played a role to get me to to where I am. So using my own example and using what I saw today, and knowing that the population is always growing, understanding that the foundation is the most important, I would argue that a 60-40 in favor of training foundational level teachers would augur well for us. Because think about it. Every community in this country that has a population of at least about 1,000 would have enough children to begin a basic school. And it will begin with the KGs, primary 1, 2, and 3. So my argument is predicated on my own experience and the reality. So 60-40 in favor of foundational level teachers, I think would be the best to do. And I would say it's not just sufficient for us to train them, but we must motivate the teachers and provide them with the needed tools and the needed environment for them to be able to give their best. It is most difficult to teach at those levels. I saw it this morning. I know it from myself. I've seen my mother investment we can make. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Let's come to you, Honorable Kona. How much, in terms of the data available from the Foundational Learning Action Tracker, are you using in your jurisdiction to influence policy direction and execution?
First of all, may I start off by saying good morning to you all. But with a name like Saki, which is very much Ghanaian, it would be remiss of me not to start off by saying Atise. The second point I want to make before I answer your question, I come from a family of 4 generations of teachers. So I'm beginning to wonder whether one of the qualifications to become an education minister in Africa is that your parents should be.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think I often make a statement about Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, we are data rich, but sometimes I often say that we are data usage poor. And what we are now trying to do is to address that data usage poverty. And so we now make use of the data in terms of the decisions that we make. So let me frame my response around the rapid model or framework. So take, for example, first of all, let me just give a quick background. Sierra Leone, like many other countries, have an issue with learning poverty. In 2021, we did an EGMA-EGRA, which is an early grade reading and mathematics baseline assessment, which says that about 70% of our kids are experiencing learning poverty. And as a government, we decided that with that type of data, we needed to embrace the challenge, and we took it upon ourselves to accept the results and to do something about it. The first response was political leadership, where the president made a commitment that we'll have learning poverty by 2030. The second thing was to find the money to make sure that we respond to this crisis that we find ourselves. And we put together a team for which I was a part of. I was then not the minister, I was a technocrat, and we applied to the Global Partnership for Education, and we received something like 50 million to address this issue. And so that's where we are in terms of context. But we do make use of this information. So let me start off with the first one, which in terms of rapid, which is about making sure that we reach every learner. if you look at the data that we have in our scorecard nationally, we have a primary education completion rate of 68% for boys and 71% for girls, which gives you an average of about 69%. So if we have 69%, we know that 31% of our learners are not completing education, primary education. And so, being armed with that data, we've now responded by making sure that we've just launched an out-of-school strategy, which will dovetail into foundational learning, so that, as we normally say, which is the cliche that no child should be left behind, we want to make sure that those who have dropped out of education will be brought back in. So this is how we use data proactively. But also, in terms of reaching every child, we are also mindful of looking at the data as to why are these kids dropping out. And so attendance data is key to our response to tackling this crisis. And what we have now introduced is something called, in Creole, which is the local language in Sierra Leone, We Dey Are, which means we are here. It's an attendance monitoring app which we use on a tablet, and we monitor the attendance of not only our pupils, but also our teachers. Because for learning to take place, you need those two components. You need the teachers and you need the students. With the data on students in terms of attendance, it gives us that opportunity to be able to respond to the support needs of kids who may have barriers to them attending. We've also piloted cash transfers using the data that we have. For those kids who we know are coming from abject poverty and they have to go to that marketplace to sell for their family. And the aim by cash transfers is that if we were to provide them with money, then they are more likely to stay in school. But this is also something that we do with our teachers as well. Now, continuing on that same trajectory, we have used data to actually inform some of our policy reforms. So we have a policy called Radical Inclusion Policy. It is very much an equal opportunities policy that targets 4 classes of students. The first one are pregnant girls or parents' pupils. Yes? Because in Sierra Leone, if you are pregnant, you will give birth and we will reintegrate you back into school. So even when we have our exams, we have pregnant girls taking those exams. Yes? In addition, we also know that poverty plays a part in attendance and in participation in the system. So we also look at data around income levels. But there is also a big divide between the urban and rural, what I would call challenges facing what I call the urban deprived and the rural poor. And so in terms of our responses, we are using data to respond to that particular divide. But the last of those is about disabilities. Obviously, disabilities does affect participation. And in some cases, we know that by responding to what we have in terms of like attendance data, if we make reasonable adjustments for those with disability, they are more likely to attend. So you could see how we have compartmentalized and in a sense differentiated our responses to the data that we currently have. The second part of the rapid, let me just look at assessment. We haven't got to the stage of Ghana where you have the standard assessment, but what we are doing in between a national baseline assessment which are done every 7 years, we are piloting national representative assessments around P4, which is class 4, and we are about to do that for P0, which is pre-primary, assessing their readiness to learn, and P2. The aim of which is that all of that will give us the baseline data which we can use to now see whether our interventions are having the impact that we'll require. The third aspect is about prioritizing the fundamentals. So like many other countries, we have adopted structured pedagogy and teaching at the right level. And again, for me, I think that is critical, taking into consideration a radical inclusion policy, because it's not only you're teaching by differentiating or using setting, as we say in education, but it's also about making sure that you provide reasonable adjustments for those who are disabled as well. We do have some challenges, and the data are pointing to some of those challenges. Like many other countries, we haven't actually fully tackled issues around the mental health and well-being. But we are beginning to see some emerging issues that we need to address. Issues around sexual and gender-based violence, which does affect kids from coming into school and disrupt their education. Issues around drug use, even at that young age, you will be surprised. And so we are using data now to start to formulate a response to some of those emerging issues. And one of the ways we are thinking of doing this is actually to reintroduce guidance counselors in our schools. So it's not only the teachers, it is also those who will provide a support arrangement to keep our learners in that space. And lastly, I will just mention, if you can just permit me, I'll just mention the issue of efficiency of instruction, which I think to a certain extent I've mentioned. But let me just go to one more, which is prioritizing, which is about teachers. Because at the end of this all, the teachers are the anchor in all of this. We are providing universal training for all of our teachers in the early years. So this year, we are not as big as Ghana. We've just done 14,000 P1, and we have done 14,000 P2, and we are now developing some materials to do P3 as well. Let me stop there.
Honourable Minister, we're very grateful for that comprehensive response to that question about the use of data in administering what we're doing in Sierra Leone. All right, would like to say a very, very, would like to say a very big thank you to our two deputy ministers, and also would like to remind all of you that the deputy minister from Liberia unfortunately had some flight issues, the reason why he could not join us for the panel. But I'm very sure that in terms of monitoring, he would have a means of monitoring what we're doing here to also add to the discourse. So once again, Honorable Ministers, we're very grateful to you for starting off the sessions for us. It's very important that we absorb all of these takeouts, especially about the realization and also the acceptance that data is at the forefront of all of this, and also our teachers become an integral part of all of this and ensure that we're pushing them to get us the kinds of results that we require at the foundational level for our children. We're very grateful to you. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we do a big round of applause as they take leave of us to take their seats as we get into the second session. So the host is the Deputy Minister of Education of Ghana, Honorable Dr. Clement Apak, who is the son of a teacher, and also the Assistant Minister from Sierra Leone, the Honorable Conrad Saki, who is also from a lineage of teachers. What is your story? What is your story? All right, so at this time, we'll continue with the deliberations here and would go straight to our next set of panelists. I'd like to respectfully welcome the Honorable Dr. Obiagele Ezeskweli, who will be helping us. Please join us, madam. Thank you. The Honorable Dr. Obiagele Ezekwesili is the CEO and founder of Human Capital Africa. She is a former Minister of Education in Nigeria. We're very grateful to you, madam. My Yoruba is not too good. Ekabo. Very close, very close. Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Doctor. And also, would like to welcome up here Bandao Mumuni Rashida, who is a teacher in training. Shall we do a big round of applause as we welcome Bandao Mumuni Rashida, a teacher in training. And also Beatrice Ifya Wilson, who is a UNICEF ambassador. Shall we welcome them with a big, big round of applause? Women are the foundation of our society, and anybody who finds himself in the company of women and women who are in the process of becoming women, the person surely is blessed. And I'm grateful and glad to find myself blessed here this morning on the stage. I don't know about you down there. Shall we do a big round of applause for them once again? Doc, I would like to begin with you. You have seen various legs of the conversation where you have been at the forefront of ensuring formulation of policy and implementation of policy for Africa's most populous nation. And of course, that in itself is a very, very big task. Away from that as well, you've had the opportunity of serving at the level of the World Bank and also, established your own organization. So you've had a full circle in terms of the experience. I would like to start off with you and start on the note of the commitment of leadership, the commitment of political leadership in ensuring that we are really pushing the ideals of the Foundational Learning Action Tracker so we can derive the true results and we can start measuring the impact on our various jurisdictions.
I really want to thank the government of Ghana through the Deputy Minister of Education for hosting us here today. And also to thank the Provost of the College of Education for giving us the opportunity to be in this lovely facility. I also would like to acknowledge my dear friends from the UNICEF, the leader of the global education team at UNICEF, Dr. Pierre Brito. Thank you so much. And of course, my colleague on the steering committee of FLAT, the Minister of Education of Sierra Leone, for the very good conversation that they've just had. I particularly want to also acknowledge Anders from Hempel, the CEO of Hempel out of Denmark, because it is their partnership with the UNICEF that has led to the evolution of a tool that everyone had been talking of, the necessity for us to have a mechanism for really collecting data on how far countries are doing in rapidly progressing on the matter of education, but not just education in terms of universalization of access, but ensuring that schooling becomes learning. Because today, what we have is that children can be in school systems and not learn. And we shovel them off to the next level. And then you get to the point where children have become adults who have graduated from the university, and then they go to the workplace and the employers are saying, what did they teach you? We have instances where people from the private sector, not making the connection of the importance of what we're doing here today, will say that we have graduates who cannot even read a sentence. We have graduates who cannot write correctly a sentence. Well, it came from faulty foundation. It came from faulty foundation. And what the data from the 2019 studies by the World Bank and several other partners showed is that our continent is worse afflicted by this. 9 out of every 10 children are not achieving literacy and numeracy skills by the age of 10. So they would finish grade 3 and they can't read a sentence, or even, the ones that can read a sentence cannot read it with meaning. Not to talk of reading a whole book at the age appropriateness for them. And that's terrible. When we talk about foundational learning, people don't know we're talking about the development of our countries. The economic growth of our countries start with the quality of our human capital. And our human capital starts with the level of knowledge, literacy skills, numeracy skills, socio-emotional skills that the children get at that foundational level. It is the bedrock for future learning. And we have a crisis in it. 9 out of every 10 children. So when you talk about political commitment to it, the president should not be feeling very, very cool with themselves when they call them excellency. No. They should know that their title, when this kind of a data is before them, is Chief Learning Officer of the country. That is the whole essence. The presidents immediately say, no, I cannot be answering excellency when the children in my country are having difficulty achieving minimum levels in literacy and numeracy. I have become the chief learning officer of my country. That's what I say to presidents everywhere I see them on our continent. Because accountability for what is going on with education now must start with the presidents, and then to the ministers, and then to the permanent secretaries and the leaders in education. And then, of course, to the communities, the citizens across Ghana, for example, because this is where we are today. And then to the families. It has to be that. So my position is that leadership has to be expressed at the political level for this problem, and then it has to be expressed at the technical level, because the technical solutions are now very known. You saw what the global director of UNICEF was presenting, basically telling us that if we followed a set of proven things that improve learning, that a country can change. We were recently in India. Do you know what we saw in India was interesting? And that speaks to this political that you're talking about. In India, when that data came out, that global data came out, their own situation was also bad. I think theirs was about 7 out of every 10 children were not achieving. When Prime Minister Modi saw that data, he was not happy. And he decided this is going to be a mission. So he called it a national mission to improve learning outcomes of children in India in their early grades. And guess what? Within 4 to 5 years of doing that, they have improved learning outcomes, in some cases by as much as 20%. That's what political leadership of this agenda can achieve. Because we can fix this thing quickly. Please, can I get you to repeat after me? We can fix this thing quickly. You're not saying it with energy. How are we going to fix it? Say it with energy. We can fix this crisis quickly.
We can fix this crisis quickly.
It starts with taking responsibility for it. And taking responsibility for a problem like this in any nation starts with the leader of the nation. That's why the continent-wide Human Capital Africa will continue to emphasize it, that until our leaders see this data and are triggered by it to say we must act, then that's when a tool like FLAT then becomes very important for them. You can see that data showing that some countries have already looked at the rapid framework and adopted the lines that are there. And so when you assess them using FLAT, you're able to tell that these countries are doing some of the right things we have identified. When children come into the school system, you have to know their readiness for learning. Then you have to be sure that you're using structured pedagogy so that your teachers are trained, and then when they are in the classroom, that there are coaches who show up to see whether they are following the right teaching methods, and that the learning materials, instructional materials, the kinds of textbooks that children need, that they have access to them, and that within the classroom system, that there is assessment tools to enable the teacher get feedback on whether the teaching they are doing, their children are actually learning. You can do all the teaching, and the child is not learning. There's nothing you have done right. So they then go back again and they look at the assessment, they take the feedback from it, they use it to replan. And then when you look at the fact that teachers that are trained well know exactly how to go, the curriculum is there. The curriculum gives rise to the teacher guide, right? So the teacher's guide enables the teacher to do a lesson planning. The teacher is being structured to the point where when a child is not learning, they can identify it. And when they identify it, they make the changes necessary. And that is why when we talk about teaching at the right level, we saw it in the school we visited. By the way, I want us to clap for that school, for the teachers in that school, for the children in that school. It was amazing to see them. And when what we saw clearly was teaching at the right level. There were some children older than the others that were in the classroom that I was in, together with the minister for Sierra Leone and Anders from Hempel. And guess what was going on? Basically, they had identified that those children, even though they were in tree, were not able to read at the level of someone in P3. So they took them to the place where their level is in order to grow them back. That's what really paying attention to whether children are learning is all about.
Amazing.
So that's my point, my answer to your question.
Very well, very well. Let's now come to you, Rashida. You, and I'm going to ask the same of both of you. You find yourself in the practical space where you're having to transfer the fundamentals. You're translating what is there in the curriculum directly to these children. Let's begin with the environment that you find yourself in and what characterizes the environment, the challenges, the opportunities you see around what you are doing when it comes to instructing these young ones, and where you also want to see yourself, especially as you are training.
So much. Standing on already existing protocols. Good morning. My name is Banda Omomuni Rashida, a level 400 student teacher of Accra College of Education. Thank you so much for the question. Well, looking at the environment at our school of practice, I would say we need more TLMs and, yes, teaching learning materials to aid our lessons delivery. For instance, I might want to teach ICT. And this is the case, there is no laptop or computer in the school. What then do I do? What then do I do? So these are some of the things that would aid us to deliver our lessons successfully. And looking at foundational learning, early grade, they are young. They love to touch, to see, and feel. So we need materials that would aid our lesson delivery. So when we get TLMs, colorful ones, they love to see colorful things to touch. They'll say, Madam, what is this? They are so curious. They will touch and, they'll be on it. And so when TLMs are provided, it will spark their interest to want to learn more. Thank you.
Now, Beatrice is a youth ambassador for UNICEF. Your job clearly is cut out, and you find yourself in the heart of advocacy. For you, how has the journey been so far, and how do you see the message that we're driving get to your target?
Thank you so much for the question. Also standing on all existing protocols, I'm Beatrice Wilson, the current UNICEF Youth Foresight Fellow representing Ghana on the futures of education. As I've been advocating on education, one thing I see is that there's a difference or an evolving landscape when it comes to pedagogy. So when we look at how teachers and learners relate, we see that AI is coming into the field. And one thing that I got when I engage young people in these safe spaces where they share their ideas and their thoughts and also their lived experiences is that they want to have safer classrooms where they feel that they are being seen and being heard. So when it comes to them sharing their thoughts, sometimes they ask that they have better learner-teacher relationships with their teachers so that when they have anything that they want to ask, they do not feel too shy or feel restricted because they may be ridiculed. So I think these are some of the things that I noticed. Aside that, also when it comes to infrastructure and TLMs, I'll second Rashida. So we need the resources to ensure that these young people have access to the things or the materials that they need to thrive in this evolving landscape. So we talk about digital literacy, aside the normal numeracy and social emotional skills that we want to see these young people develop. In order for them to get there, we have to ensure that they have access to these things like computers, laptops, tablets, that will enable them to become digitally literate. Aside that, we have to ensure that we open the doors for them to also feel included, no matter where they are coming from, in terms of socio-economic background. So these are some of the things I noticed young people talk about and highlight. And I think when we focus on them and try to elevate the floor through flat, so that they have the data that will back teachers to actually develop the skills to ensure that the ideas and then also the perspectives of these young people are taken into consideration when we decide to implement certain initiatives or make a change to our curriculum, right? So I think these are some of the things we can take into consideration to ensure that, yes, we are seeing the change that we are advocating for. Thank you.
Just before we wrap up the conversation during this session, obviously what we all want to see as a collective is the day beyond here or the tomorrow beyond here. You've spoken about infrastructure. Honorable has also spoken about political will and the need for policy to be more directed and more focused on ensuring that we have our eyes on the foundational element of education. Honorable, the final thoughts on the day after today. Of course, having initiatives such as these is a very good one. But then, like you said, we need to do more and we need to have our voices heard more. Now, for you, very briefly, what is the kind of tomorrow you see across the continent? Because we see heavy participation here. Looking at the way we have started off on this, and what caution would you give as we all go along the way and achieve the deliverables on the flat? Okay.
Number one, data is really queen and data is king. The reason is that without data, it is impossible to know whether you're actually doing the right things.
Or the size of the problem.
And the scale of the problems, and when you're not making progress. I normally say that in God I trust. Every other person must bring data. So all Ghanaians need to begin to say to the education managers, what's the data on the children in school and their learning at the foundational level? And then just having data is not sufficient. Using the data, ensuring that that data is informing policy, that has to happen more rapidly and as a matter of habit in policy making. Then number 3, I like that you're a journalist. You see, you have to get all your fellow journalists to pay particular attention to this problem of foundational learning and to become the champions for making sure that we fix foundational learning. And so it means that you cannot take your eyes off it. Accountability, the media is supposed to be purveyors of accountability. You need that to be so. Number 4 is actually the matter of the financing. A lot of the times people think, oh, we're going to need tons of money in order to fix this problem. Some data has come out in terms of how much you really need, especially because existing money that goes into education can sometimes be being used not for the right things that improve learning. So being able to think of that and say, let's look at the education budget. How can we rearrange things to make sure that evidence, meaning data again, evidence is informing what we're putting money in education, the budget for education into. The journalists can do a lot in insisting, helping the society to understand that, and making sure that the people in education, the government, the president are actually moving their action in that direction. And finally, every one of you across Africa, because we're addressing not just Africa but the world, citizens of the world that are joining us in discussing FLAT today should know that except they take their place in democracy and begin to ask for accountability for education, things are not going to work out well. So what do I want to charge you to do? Every time you think of a child or you see a child, you need to help me ask the child, what did you learn in school today? What did you learn in school today? And then when you see the leaders or you write or you have an opinion publicly, you need to ask, Mr. President, what are our children learning in school? Or you see the Minister of Education, I've created market for you, ministers. The citizens must ask you, what are our children learning in school today, Mr. or Madam Minister? I thank you very much. And by the way, I want to thank Ghana for being the place where my mother was born.
Amazing. Wow. Amazing.
My mother was born by Nigerian parents who came to Ghana.
Wow.
And as a student, I was taught by teachers from Ghana.
Amazing.
So Nigeria and Ghana, let's not ever disagree. And you have to agree that the Nigerian jollof rice.
I love the way she ended it. No more comments on jollof. All right, Rashida, brief comments as we look at the future. I mean, you find yourself in a space that is not fully equipped, but then you are squeezing water out of stone to make sure that instruction is going and you are seeing improvements in these children whom we want to be equipped by a certain age. What future do we see from here? Yeah.
So much for the question. Well, for us future teachers, FLAT is more than just a dashboard. It is a compass. It tells us this is where your learners stand. Now, teach with purpose. As teacher trainees, we are mostly taught theories. But what we truly need and what FLAT represents is action. Action that ensures that teachers like me are provided with the right support and tools. So I think for a better tomorrow, teachers should be supported. Investing in teachers is investing in learners indirectly. We are not magicians. We need support. We need mentorship and encouragement. See, every support we receive affects how we teach. Yes, so I will hit on the fact that we need support.
Amazing.
Support for teachers is not a luxury. It is the foundation of every child's
Amazing.
success.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Rashida, thank you so much. And to our ambassador as well, Beatrice. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. So I think that the future is really exciting because for the first time ever we have FLAT, where we get to see how education is being progressed in other parts of the world, not just in one jurisdiction. And this goes to show that there will be knowledge sharing. And when there's knowledge sharing, it means that we are on the right route to improvement when it comes to the outcomes that we want to see. So I think that that's one thing that I really appreciate about FLATs being introduced and launched today. Aside that, one thing I would want us to think of when we think of the future of education is also safeguarding. When it comes to digital safety of young people, we are so very fast to give young people access to digital tools, but safeguarding also plays a critical role in the future of learning. What are these young people using these tablets and tools for? This is something that we should take into consideration as we use this FLAT tracker as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity once again.
We're grateful to you. And ladies and gentlemen, yes, another round of applause. We're grateful to you. Dr. Obiagele Ezekwesili is the Ezekwesili. Yes, Dr. Obiagele Ezekwesili. Please do a big round of applause for her. And of course, thank you so much. We'll do a big round of applause as well for Rashida Bandao Mumuni, a teacher in training, and Beatrice Efia Wilson, who is a UNICEF Youth Ambassador. We're grateful to them. And that will take us to the final leg of our conversations today. I'd like to welcome, for the focus on academia, Professor Ernest Kofi Davis of the University of Cape Coast. Shall we welcome Professor Ernest Kofi Davis with a big round of applause? Very well. And also would like to welcome up here Mr. Shembodo. Please welcome Mr. Shembodo with a big round of applause. And of course, Professor Davis is being represented by, can you tell us? Yeah. Sure.
I am Professor Richardson Ademununkum, and I'm representing Professor Davis.
Very well. Very grateful to you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, there's a conversation about various arms of society which give us the support system or the main support system for the foundational learning action tracker. You find yourselves within academia, and so the role of the academia in ensuring that FLAT becomes embedded within our system, and it also becomes the foundation on which we get results and the foundation on which we get measurable impact on our young ones. Tell me about that journey and how crucial you believe academia will be in executing this.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I want to stand on the existing protocols and to say a very good morning to everyone. And to thank you for having me. I think I said earlier I'm representing Professor Davis, who extends his apologies. Something came up and so he couldn't be here. And so I'm standing in here, but whatever goes wrong is not him, it's me. And whatever goes right is him. So with that said, I want to also put on record that my mother was a teacher. So if there are any goodies being shared for teachers, I will take for her. And to the question of where do we place ourselves as academics, I say we are in the middle of the loop. Middle of the loop in the sense that we teach the ones who go to the classroom. And I'm very happy I heard that the visitation to the school, everybody is excited about what they saw, and we are giving applauses to the teachers and to the pupils and everyone there. But I think we need one more applause to the teacher educators who taught the teachers. And that is where we come in. Preparing them right is always very important. And me and my colleagues doing teacher education always remind ourselves that we are not lecturers. A sociology lecturer might not care what is happening outside. This philosophy lecturer might not care. But for us as teacher educators, we don't just lecture, we teach. And in fact, in teaching, we model what teaching is supposed to be in the classroom. Beyond preparing the teachers to go into the classroom, we take keen interest in what they do. And so our research is focused on what is happening in the classroom, and we always go there to see what is happening. And because of that, we get a lot of data that we are able to also feed into policy decisions that comes around. And so it's a loop where we stay in the middle, connect from the bottom, connect from the up, and if the loop is running smoothly, then we are likely to achieve all the targets we set for ourselves. Because we are talking about tracking, I will say I also track how we are doing in the loop. I will say that connecting with the classroom and with practice, I will give ourselves green because we are always there. We are always in the classroom, either doing research or supporting teacher supervision. So we see a lot and we learn a lot. And we are happy that the minister, Right Honorable Minister, re-echoed that foundational learning, early childhood education, the medium of instruction is the mother tongue. I think we've said this over and over again. And so we are very happy, those of us in teacher education, we are very happy that the minister has echoed and stamped his authority on this policy. Now, because we are in the classroom, we'll tell you that sometimes it's not the teachers who don't want to do it. It's actually the community. And so some work we are doing now is the community that is opposing the teachers' use of mother tongue. And the argument is simple. All the people they see on television are speaking English. And they spoke Twi. Say, mo amuka nyina mo kabrofo. Mo pese ye mano eka Twi nkwa. Say be ya mo be kwani mu achen omo. And the explanation is yes. All the people we see, they are speaking English. And we want our children to learn Twi. How do they become like you? And so they are resisting the teacher's effort. And we as academics going to the field will have these insights that we'll be ready to share with policymakers. And so connecting with the grassroots, I'll say we are green. Connecting with policymakers, I'll say we are yellow. We are not green yet. Because we feel like we need more opportunities to connect to policymakers so that such nuanced implementation issues will come up, so that we devise ways to work around it. So we are very important, and we are happy that you invited us to the table and we are having this conversation. But we'll just say that we are ready to support, to achieve all the targets for foundational learning, but we just need a space to be able to share the experiences we have. Thank you very much.
Prof, we're very grateful to you. And of course, we'll give the final word to Mr. Shembodo. Mr. Shembodo is a senior program advisor at ADEA. Shall we do a big round of applause for him? Yes, so Prof has just given us a bit of a foundation regarding where we stand with academia, where they see themselves in terms of contributing to the process of training of trainers. And they believe that it's going well so far to a certain extent. And he's also done a very good assessment of what they're doing from their end, which obviously is a human institution which does not have 100% throughout, which obviously is also one of the ideals of this tracker, to give you a real picture of the situation. What would you say from your end as well?
Thank you. First of all, allow me to thank the government of Ghana really for giving us this opportunity to showcase what it means to use evidence and what evidence can do. I've been in many forums like this, especially forums that are focusing on foundational learning. And for the first time, when we talk foundational learning, and which is something ADEA champions a lot, we normally insist on literacy, numeracy, and social emotional learning. For the first time, those three components, in my experience, have been given equal weight in this forum. So for that, I really want to thank the government of Ghana for the drive, for the leadership in bringing socio-emotional learning to the fore. Secondly is, of course, to thank our partners, UNICEF, Hempel Foundation, HCA, we work so much with Dr. Obi. And just to follow on my colleague, anything I say correctly goes to Albert Nsengiumva, my executive secretary, and all the bad things remain with me. So let's have that on record. But yes, it is very important that we have all hands on deck. We have seen here today vision in action. I had to go back when I had Deputy Minister Park talking, and I said, this is not just from any tree. There must be a vision that it is anchored in. And I had to go back to the speech of His Excellency the President when he was launching the consultation forums. And allow me just to read quickly. He said, and these were his questions, and really his anchorage. He said, an education system that adequately prepares our learners and nurtures our learners and youth as Ghanaians with uncompromising values and character, qualities of honesty, creativity, and responsible citizenship. You can see that. An education system that ensures that our leaders by the age of 10 are well-grounded and proficient in language literacy, mathematics literacy, scientific literacy, and cultural literacies as the foundation for their future learning. And he goes ahead to also talk about, what about moral education? What about patriotism? These are key values, African values, and that's why I'm very happy that social-emotional learning is being articulated today. So we have seen vision in action. Dr. Obi has talked about the India trip, what a visionary leader can do. And it's an example of what is also happening in this country. But not only vision in action, we have also seen policy in action. We have seen how the policymakers here have articulated what they are doing to be able to inform the practice. And we have also seen practice in action. We were in the classrooms. We have also heard it from here. So that's why I'm saying that for me, it is all hands on deck. We have seen the academia. Without evidence, you are flying blind, to paraphrase Obi. So mine is just to say thank you, and ADEA is a partner. We are partnering in this process. We have the triennial coming up, which has been articulated ably by the Honorable Deputy Minister, starting day after tomorrow. And we welcome all, because we are still going to delve much deeper into these discussions. Thank you so much.
Prof. We'd like to say a very big thank you to Professor Adai Monunkum of the University of Cape Coast. Shall we do a big round of applause for him? And also would like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Shem Bodo, who is a senior program advisor at ADEA. They are a major partner as well. A big round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. From Winneba, rather. Yes, from the University of Education, Winneba. Shall we do a bigger round of applause for them? Thank you. Thank you so much. It is on that note that I would like to respectfully welcome back here on the stage the host, who is the Deputy Minister for Education of Ghana, the Honorable Dr. Clementa Park, to give closing remarks in what has been a very fruitful day of conversations here. Shall we welcome him with a big round of applause?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. And before I make my closing comments, safe to say that the Honorable Minister himself was a teacher. I was a teacher too. So I think we are seeing a trend. And let's try to expand that trend. Let the future indicate that we can do better than we benefited from. That should be our watchword. I think all has been said. My role here is very simple and straightforward. To express our heartfelt gratitude, our sincerest appreciation, our admiration to UNICEF, and indeed the steering committee members of FLAT. We ought to express our gratitude to partners, including Amtel Africa, right? I've Africanized you. And of course, fellow academics who have come to be part of this wonderful engagement. I see my brother from Sudan, the UNICEF country representative. We are already planning to go to Fumbisi to eat some TZ and then some millet porridge. In other words, cocoa. And then to our brothers from Adia, we are most grateful. To the principals from our various colleges of education, particularly our hosts, we are grateful. To the two young ladies who came to speak to us from their perspective, their lived experiences, pointing us to where there are some gaps and some shortcomings. We are most grateful for your bold and honest contribution. To all of you, students, the media, we are grateful. And let me put on record that as part of the research agenda being prosecuted by John Dramani Mahama, the education sector is expected to play a very vital role. And we need all these ideas. We need all of you. As the saying goes, the one who is laying the path would not know when it is crooked. So don't be afraid to tell us, even when you feel we are going astray. We are a listening government. The minister is a very affable, down-to-earth, listening minister. I compliment him. We are both products of Commonwealth Hall. We will not quarrel. We will not chastise you. We will not victimize you. We will not penalize you for saying the truth. After all, the motto of Commonwealth Hall is the truth stands. Thank you.
The truth definitely stands. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we do a big round of applause as we appreciate it. The Honorable Dr. Clement Apak, the Deputy Minister of Education, and also a serving Member of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this time would also like to say a very, very big thank you to our translator for today, who has been here with us, giving sign language to all of our friends who required. Cecilia Opoku Techua, a big round of applause. We're very grateful to you. Thank you very much. And now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will do some photographs before we wrap things up this afternoon, after which we will leave it for our friends from the media to do specific interviews with key persons on the main backdrop. Respectfully, I'd like to welcome our dignitaries here to the front, and I'd like to welcome all panel members who spoke today to join us here at the top of the stage. Thank you very much. And also our development partners,